record button. So we'll record the whole thing as well, and we'll stick it up on YouTube. So people, you have muted me, Sharon O'Donoghue. Everybody's muted. Everybody has to be muted except for the doctors. So it wouldn't make sense if there'd just be too much noise coming through in the background if people weren't muted, you know. So we'll record these and we'll put it up on YouTube so you can go back over it. Or if you happen to miss a lesson, there's 6 lessons in total. And if you happen to miss one, you'll always be able to go back and look at it anyway. So it's unlikely people will make all 6 of the lessons. So as I say, it'll all be recorded anyway. So there's this evening is kind of an introduction to Ayurveda, because we're aware that some people might know what Ayurveda is, or maybe have heard about it but don't know too much about it. So we're going to go in depth into what Ayurveda is. And yeah,
Dr. Don is there if you want to.
Dr. Brennan is there. Okay, yeah, absolutely.
And Dr. Nahid is there as well.
Hi, Don.
Hi, Noel.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. How are you, Nahid?
And Nahid is here as well, so I'll unmute Dr. Nahid. Hi, Dr. Nahid.
Hi, hello everyone.
How are you?
Lovely to see some old friends here. Sally Hayden, Barbara Ketley. There's a lot of Alex and Mabel now. Lovely to see them all coming back.
Yeah, lots of new people on as well, Dr. Brennan, which is great. Lots of new people.
Love.
Yeah.
Loads of new.
So, so as I was just explaining the structure of the course, so the course will consist of a video that we play of a recorded lesson that we've already done. It's taken it from a very basic place where maybe people have no understanding of what Ayurveda is, and brings it forward. And then we have the 6 lessons are laid out in a very sequential format, so that by the end of the course, you'll have a very, very good idea of what Ayurveda is. And you can decide if it's something you'd like to study further, or something you'd like to make use of in your life, or just take on board some of the lifestyle advices that are in it. So it's a great course. There's lots of huge knowledge, and very valuable knowledge for people to use in here as well, you know. So and
it starts very simply with, you know, what each of us, the 3 Vaidhas, feel are the really important things. So we just wanted to focus initially on the 3 vital things to bring your attention to as you go through the rest of the course. And the rest of the course then does start to fill out the details, the theory of Vata and Pitta and Kapha in the next 3 talks. And then we go deeply into the lifestyle that we should be living for a better balance. And we finish with a huge topic, very significant in Ayurveda, is everything to do about digestion and the foods and all of that. So it's very, very practical, though it may start a little bit theoretical. Ayurveda is incredibly practical. And the beauty of it, of course, is you get a chance to ask all your questions. And when you ask questions, it becomes more interesting. So don't be shy in the chat line and giving us something to think about.
Yeah, we'll try answer as many questions as possible. Like, we always finish by 9 o'clock. We don't go much later than 9, but we try. We can't guarantee to answer all questions, but we do try as best as possible to answer the questions. So for the new people, maybe I should introduce the doctors to you, because obviously you're not over familiar with them. My name is Noel O'Neill. I'm a director of the Ayurveda Centre in Ireland, and I'm going to be hosting this event over the 6 lessons. Dr. Don Brennan is a medical doctor. He's a medical GP, and he's practiced Ayurveda for about 30 years. So he's probably one of the most experienced Western trained Ayurvedic doctors in the world at this stage, I would imagine. He worked in the UK for many years, and also worked in Ireland. He's traveled a lot over the years. He's consulted with thousands upon thousands of people. He's been in the media, he's been on TV programs, on the radio, on newspapers. He's published a book called Live Better with Ayurveda. So he's a very, very experienced Ayurvedic doctor, and it's great that we have him along. So Don, you say hello there so people can see you.
Yes, hello everybody, and wonderful that you're all along. And our fulfillment is your benefits that you give us in the chat line from doing what we suggest. And so we're looking forward to hearing back from you.
And then, thanks, Don. You might need to just raise your camera up a little bit where you're the top of your head is cut off. So that's perfect. That's perfect. Great.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, we can hear you fine. Yeah, the sound is very good. The sound is very good. And then we have Dr. Richmond.
you'll find the other two Vaidya's are really experienced and really brilliant. They've got a great grounding in Ayurveda. And Rajvinder is wonderful. She does a lot about food. And Naheed has such deep insights. And Naheed's a bit shy, so bring Naheed out of her shell. We have to ask her questions because the rest of us keep talking. Poor Naheed doesn't get a chance.
Okay, so Dr. Rajvinder, say hello there, Dr. Rajvinder. You'll come up on people's screens.
Hello, namaste everybody. Thank you for the lovely evening. A lot of happy faces, colors. Thank you.
So Dr. Rajvinder has been in Ireland since 2007. She's worked with the Ayurveda in Ireland since then. So she's an incredibly experienced Ayurvedic doctor. In India, to become an Ayurvedic doctor, it's a 6-year degree course. It's a BAMS, a Bachelor of Ayurvedic Medicine and Surgery. So both Dr. Naheed and Dr. Rajvinder have completed that degree and also have done work experience in hospitals as well. So Rajvinder is very, very experienced. She runs all our cookery courses. She does lots of different webinars on different topics as well. And so it's great to have her along. And then the last doctor we have is Dr. Naheed. Say hello, Dr. Naheed.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining with us.
So Dr. Naheed is actually in India at the moment, so her internet connection might be a bit slow. But Dr. Naheed came to Ireland about 2 years ago, and she lives down in Cork, and she works for the Ayurveda Centre down in Cork City. And she had to go back to India for family reasons a while back, and she will be coming back to Ireland at some stage. But she's working for us from India at the moment. Everything we're doing these days is done in Zoom anyway. All our consultations and everything are all done by Zoom. But Dr. Naheed again is a BAMS degree, and again quite a good bit of experience in Ayurveda in dealing with Western patients as well as Indian patients. So there are 3 doctors, and so there's Eamon O'Donoghue, who says, so wonderful to see you all again. You're all brilliant. So they are. There's an endorsement from one of our course participants.
Thanks, Eamon. And Noel brings us all together. He's got the experience and the absolute organizing skill, and he cracks the whip and we do his dictates. And he's very good. So we really appreciate Noel. He's great grounding in Ayurveda himself. And, so he will be helping us along the way.
Okay, so what we're going to do, we've 230 people on the call now, so we're probably getting up towards, a lot of people just watch the reviews, so we're probably getting up towards the numbers that we're going to have. So I think maybe we should get started. It's 1936. There's Sonia Rashid there. That's great to see you on, Sonia.
Sarah is back with us.
Sorry?
Vatsala is back with us.
Oh, great. Okay, so I think we should just go ahead. Dr. Brennan has given this little introduction anyway, but there's a bigger introduction as we go through the thing. And on this video, the 3 doctors speak about what they feel are the most important things you can take away from this course, the areas of Ayurveda which they feel that resonate very strongly with them, and have an importance for them. So, and I give a little introduction to Ayurveda for new people. And as I say, this was recorded quite some time back, but it's anyway. So what I'll do now is I'll share the screen. Now, one thing that we've noticed when we're playing the video, that if people switch their cameras off, not their screens off, but just their cameras off, it tends to make the quality of the video a little bit better. And then when we come back to the live session again for the Q&A, you can put your cameras back on. So if you wouldn't mind, if it's easy for you, if you don't know how to switch your camera off, if you just bring your mouse down to the bottom, you'll see a little camera sign, and you just click on that, and that'll switch your camera off. And it seems to make the whole thing work a little bit better. So I'll share this, and okay, so I think we're ready to. From the Ayurveda Centre in Ireland, and I'd just like to welcome you to this 6-lesson Ayurveda course. So what we're going to do here is we're going to give an overview of the course, an introduction to what we'll be covering in the course, and then we'll introduce you to our great doctors that are going to facilitate the course. So I'm appreciative of the fact that some of you may be completely new to Ayurveda. There's probably some people who have done courses with us before on this, but I'm sure there are some people who have no notion of what Ayurveda is. So I'll explain a little bit about Ayurveda before we get started. So Ayurveda is made up of 2 words, Ayu, which means lifespan, and Veda, which means knowledge. So Ayurveda means the knowledge of lifespan.
Well, and Ayurveda is the oldest traditional system of healthcare in the world. Well, it's reckoned to be the oldest traditional system of healthcare in the world. Its roots go back thousands upon thousands of years. There are many ancient scriptures that detail all the different modalities of Ayurveda that are there, and we'll be talking about them during the course. Its roots are in India and Asia, and it's still used by millions of people in the East as their main system of healthcare, and it's gaining huge traction in the West as well. So basically, what is it? What way does it look at health? How does it look at disease and ill health? Well, fundamentally, it looks at health in terms of balance, and ill health in terms of imbalance. Okay, so it sees that when things are in balance in the body, then people are happy, they're contented, and they have good health and long life. But when things go out of balance, which we're going to talk about a lot, then this causes problems. So what Ayurveda is always trying to do is to discover, well, what is the person doing, or what lifestyle are they adopting that's making things go out of balance, and what can they do to help bring the system back into balance. But the overall worldview of Ayurveda is that at the fundamental level of life, of our existence, there is a field of pure consciousness from where everything comes from. And this field of pure consciousness has many different names. And one of the names that people use for it is being, the field of being. And being is existence or pure consciousness. And we are, after all, what we call ourselves human beings. So we are the expression of that intelligence in the form of an individual physiology, in an individual person. We express that intelligence in the form of an individual. So that's the fundamental basics of the life view of Ayurveda, that this field of consciousness underlies everything. It doesn't just underlie me and you, it underlies everything that's in the creation, whether it's animate or inanimate. We just happen to express it in our human nervous system. But this field of consciousness is beyond thought, it's beyond space, it's beyond time. It correlates very well with what modern physicists would call the unified field theory of life as well, but we can go into that a little bit more later on. But anyway, this field of consciousness, this field of unity expresses itself. And it expresses itself through diversity, through all the diverse things that are there. If you think about it, we live in a universe. That's what we live in, okay? So what does the word universe mean? Well, the word universe means unity of diversity. Now, diversity is obvious. I'm different than you. The computer is different than the table. Black is different than red. In actual fact, if we look out with our senses at the world, we would think that it's just diversity, that there's no unity, that everything is separated from everything else, and that it's just a world of beautiful diversity. And from the point of view of the senses, that would be true. But this underlying field of unity is there. So what is this unity that they talk about, okay? So again, that comes back to being the field of being. And this field of consciousness expresses itself in all this diversity. And it, at its basic fundamental level, it expresses itself through 5 different elements, 5 different material things that make up the material universe. And they are earth, air, fire, water, and space. Earth, air, fire, water, and space. So everything in the universe is made up of these elements. And everything is a mixture. Well, sometimes you can have just pure water or you can have pure fire, but generally things are a mixture of these things. And what Ayurveda does is it categorizes these mixtures in people into 3 what they call doshas. And these 3 doshas are Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And Vata, Pitta, and Kapha are 3 words that you're going to become very, very familiar with over this course. Now, Vata is made of air and space, and Pitta is made of fire and water, and Kapha is made of earth and water. And all of these elements exist inside every human being, but in different amounts, okay? So some people will have a lot of the fire element in them. They'll be very fiery people. They'll be what's called Pitta people. Some people will have more of the space element in them. They'll be very artistic. They'll be very thin and quick moving. And some people will have a lot of the Kapha element in them. They'll be heavier. They'll be slower moving. They'll have, heavier bone structure and, slow to pick things up, but retain things for a long time when they do pick them up. So an understanding of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha is fundamental to the understanding of Ayurveda, because I say we're all a mixture of these things. And actually our first 3 classes cover these 3 doshas, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Now, everybody has a unique nature. No two people are the same. And that's the great thing about Ayurveda. It's not just saying there's one thing suits everybody, because there isn't one thing suits everybody. Some foods may suit me because I'm a Pitta type, cooling foods, but they mightn't necessarily suit a Kapha person. Or some exercises might suit me, but other exercises may cause me to go out of balance and cause harm to me. And those exercises would be better for somebody else. So it's not one size fits all. It's a unique size for yourself. And understanding your own nature is a very, very important part of Ayurveda, because then you can understand the things that bring balance in your life and bring imbalance in your life. Because what you've got to remember, it's not only you that's made up of earth, air, fire, water, and space, but everything in the universe is made up of earth, air, fire, water, and space. So everything is either bringing balance or imbalance to you. And it's only through understanding our natures that we can decide the things that are good for us. Now, the very interesting thing is that in Ayurveda, all diseases, now think of the word disease. I'm sure you've seen this before, but it's two words: dis-ease, imbalance. All diseases are caused by an imbalance of Vata, Pitta, or Kapha. So everything from anxiety to insomnia to migraine to whatever you care to mention, it's looked at in terms of this imbalance. And so what Ayurveda is trying to do, it's trying to identify the imbalance. So if you're suffering from anxiety, Ayurveda is saying, okay, well, anxiety tends to be a Vata condition. Too much air in space, too much movement. So is this person a Vata person to start with? What's aggravating their Vata? What are they doing that's causing this to happen? And what can they do to reverse it? So maybe the person needs to learn a meditation technique. Maybe a person needs to do oil massages. Maybe they need to take certain foods, certain warm, nourishing foods. Maybe they need to change their job or their lifestyle or something like that. So Ayurveda is looking at those things to see, well, what's causing these imbalances and what can we do to bring back the system back into balance. So living in tune with nature is how we have ideal health, is how we have perfect health. And as I say, all diseases are associated with imbalances in Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So you're going to learn all about this over the following 6 lessons. We're going to go greatly in depth to it. Before I introduce the doctors, I just want to do 1 or 2 things. I want to show you some places where you can do a little bit of homework. You can find out more about Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And I also want to show you a little video that I got from YouTube, that is where the director of the World Health Organization is talking about Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. So if you just bear with me for a second, there we are there. So we'll just play this little video.
Your Excellency Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Excellencies, dear colleagues and friends, Namaste. Namaste. Traditional systems of medicine such as Ayurveda can play an important role in integrated, people-centered health services and self-care, but they have not received enough attention. In a WHO report last year, 170 countries reported the use of traditional and complementary medicine, including Ayurveda. Earlier this week, I had the great honor of speaking with His Excellency Prime Minister Modi. I welcome the Prime Minister's strong commitment to universal health coverage through the Ayushman Bharat initiative and the use of evidence-based traditional and complementary medicine supported by the Ministry of Ayush. I'm pleased to announce that we have agreed to open a WHO Global Center on Traditional Medicine in India to strengthen the evidence, research, training, and awareness of traditional and complementary medicine. This new center will support WHO's effort to implement the WHO Traditional Medicine Strategy 2014 to 2023. Which aims to support countries in developing policies and action plans to strengthen the role of traditional medicine as part of their journey to universal health coverage and a healthier, safer, fairer world. Finally, I wish you a very happy Diwali. I thank you.
So that's the Director General of the World Health Organization talking about the Ayurveda. And I suppose Ayurveda was used quite widely in the treatment of COVID during the pandemic, and to what seemingly, anyway, it's very hard to tell with these things, but seemingly to very, very good results, So actually we have some very nice videos on our YouTube channel, which I'm going to be showing you towards the end of the class. So, and I'm happy to say we have huge support for Ayurveda from the Indian Embassy in Ireland as well, and they're very keen to help us promote this knowledge around the country and even get it into the universities and even establish chairs in universities as well, So I tell you what, I won't share our website with you yet. What we'll do is I'll introduce you to the doctors now, and the doctors can tell you about what they hope that you get from this course and what they feel are the most important things that you can take away from this course. And then I'll come back at the very end and I'll show you our website, because there's a huge resource of information on our website. I'll show you where our YouTube channel is, and I'll show you how you can access these lessons in case you happen to miss one, because life is busy. You might not always be able to be here every Tuesday and Thursday for 3 weeks, and you may miss a lesson, but don't worry about that, because we can catch up on those lessons later on, so there's no issue over that. I also want to say to you is that you're going to be introduced to a lot of new terminology here and a lot of new phrases, but the best way to learn things is through repetition. So don't stress or strain over trying to understand these too quickly. Just allow the knowledge to go in. Just listen and allow the knowledge to go in. And then what happens is it'll be repeated, or somebody will ask a question about it or something, and you'll hear it again and you'll hear it again. And after a while, you'll very quickly begin to recognize all these different words and how they relate to very practical things. And I want to say that even though talking about, being and consciousness might seem impractical, Ayurveda is a very, very practical system of healthcare. You're going to get great advices here for your daily routine and for things that you can do to maintain very positive health, to maintain very strong immunity. And if unfortunately you are already in a situation where there is some disease or imbalance in your system, you'll get great knowledge that'll maybe help you to start reversing that and bringing your system back into balance. So the first of our doctors that I want to introduce you to is Dr. Don Brennan. Now, Dr. Don Brennan, I'm sure some of you are already aware of, because he's quite well known. So Dr. Brennan is a medical doctor. He trained in Ireland in medicine, practiced medicine in Ireland, worked in various hospitals in Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, and but more importantly, he's been involved in the field of Ayurveda for over 30 years now at this stage. So he's consulted with literally thousands upon thousands of people, and he's lectured widely, and he's appeared on the Late Late Show, he's appeared in the media, he's appeared on radios and doing newspaper articles. He is the founding president of the Ayurvedic Practitioners Association in the UK, which is quite a strong practitioners association over there, and so he's very well respected in the Ayurvedic community. I would have to say at this stage he's probably one of the most knowledgeable Western-trained Ayurvedic doctors in the world at this stage, with the wealth of experience that he has. And it's absolutely fantastic. He now lives in Dublin, and I've worked with Dr. Brennan for the last 15 years or so, and it's great that he comes on, and you're going to see that he has a wealth of wisdom to share with everybody. So Dr. Brennan, I'm going to hand over to you, and maybe you might even want to give yourself a little introduction or whatever, or maybe you'd like to say what people can take away from this course and what you feel are the most important things that people will get from this course. So Dr. Brennan, we'll hand over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Noel, for that very comprehensive introduction to Ayurveda, and inspiring to see it's getting to the highest level of recognition now. I would like to just, as with each of us, take one aspect that we feel is very important, that we would like you to take away from this short course. And so these three things form a fundamental basis to a healthy life, and it just focuses your mind for the rest of the course, hopefully, to pick up on these three. And in order to introduce the particular fundamental that I'm going to talk about, I just want to bring you on a personal journey, because as a teenager, my real concern and interest and question was, why do people suffer? And I could see nowhere around me people who really didn't, nor any answer to the question that was profound. And so I thought to myself, well, the best field probably to find out would be medicine. And if medicine didn't know, at least I'd have 7 years more to think about it. So I ended up doing medicine and was shocked when I came to the end of the medical course to discover that medicine didn't know. It's not a fundamental situation where it has sorted out the reasons for suffering and ameliorates them. In fact, it turned out actually that the practice of medicine was more symptomatic based, trying to treat the anxiety or trying to treat the cancer, and very superficial in its approach, purely physical mainly, with surgery and medicines being the prime instrument. So that was shocking to me. But something had happened to me in the process of medical studies, which was that I had learned Transcendental Meditation and had witnessed in myself mood swings, which were quite disruptive at times, and increasing anxiety with the pressures of the medical course, just settled down. And I became, by the end of the medical course, quite a happy person. And I thought, well, there must be something here. So relatively soon after doing the medical training, I trained as a TM teacher. And then I was in a complete dilemma, because with the TM, I was teaching people and I could see their suffering relieved and they're becoming happier through the simple practice of sitting down, closing their eyes and transcending. But at the same time, I was working in casualty in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, and I could see people coming in traumatized and through the medical approach ease their suffering. And so I couldn't bring them together until I studied Ayurveda. So Maharishi Ayurveda was a perspective that drew me in because it explained why each of us suffer. And it comes back to what Noel was telling us, that fundamentally we are being. We are transcendence. We are consciousness. And this is the paradigm that Maharishi Ayurveda is bringing to our attention. And so within us is all the information and the intelligence, which is arising from that refined essence of being, in order for us to conceive and construct and to govern and become our bodies, right? And so having done that, our culture and traditions focuses outwardly, and unfortunately, it has to be said, our culture is dominated by a maddening pursuit of wealth, as if that was the means of fulfilling all desires. And yet we see the happiest people are often the poorest, and the wealthiest are often not an inspiration. So what is the cause of suffering? Ayurveda describes, like quantum physics describes, how nature unfolds in layers and layers. In physics, it will be energy, it will be fine particles, it will be atoms, molecules, tissues, organs, a physical structure. In Ayurveda, Maharishi Ayurveda, it's consciousness at the depth. It unfolds as fine feelings, it unfolds as an intellect, it unfolds as a mind, it unfolds as these 5 dynamics that Noah was talking about, giving rise to the doshas that structure our bodies. So at every level, laws of nature, as they're called in science, which are principles of organization. It's like the rules whereby consciousness must operate to unfold our physiology. So that laws of nature, that intelligence, that information is within. And our fault that causes us suffering is that we've been trained to look out, and in so doing, from childhood, we start to lose the memory, that wonderful inspiration and joy of the child, where they're intuitively in touch with a more profound level, they innocently manifest, express it. And there's such a joy because the field of consciousness is bliss. And so as they grow up, they're trained to look out. We forget who we are. We forget, therefore, all that flow of life from within. And because we lose our memory of the structuring principles of the organizing intelligence within ourselves, we make mistakes. And when we make mistakes, we go against our grain. As Noel said, we go out of balance. And the way we know we're out of balance is we suffer. So our suffering is actually due to our lack of insight, and therefore, in all field of Maharishi Ayurveda, the one fundamental is to wake up to that inner being, and the specific technique
that has passed down through the most ancient tradition for that purpose is now known as Transcendental Meditation. There are different forms of meditation for different purposes. There is mindfulness to make you more mindful, which gives you insight as well and helps. There is compassion meditation, which is a much more focused type of meditation. So there are three types of meditation: focused, sort of mindfulness, attentive to something, and the transcendental meditation, which is the innocent process of allowing the awareness to do what the awareness would love to do, which is go back home and have a rest. And in that silence, of that stillness of awareness, to awaken to who you are. Now, this is not an idea. It is not an intellectual concept. It is not a grand theory. This is an experience. And because it is an experience, because it's beyond thought, we have to actually awaken to know, absolutely to know this field. And in so doing, our subtle level of awareness starts to align with that fundamental field and starts to actually process our feelings and then our thoughts and then our speech and then our action in line with all these innate wisdom of organizing principles or laws of nature. So we spontaneously start to compute life in terms of our living, which is in tune with nature, in tune with our needs, in tune with life as a whole. So if all of us, or a good proportion of us, could only wake on that level, this planet would have been secured. The reason this planet is so under threat and there is so much discord and unhappiness in the world is because we've forgotten who and what we are. And that's why I feel in the whole tradition of wisdom of Ayurveda, this most fundamental advice to experience your being, to transcend, is a fundamental, which when people do it, even spontaneously, they start to live life in tune, to go to bed at the right time, to eat the right food, and so forth. It empowers, it motivates. So my number one, and it's a wonderful process of ongoing progressive awakening, of development and becoming more wise and more spiritual as life goes on. Practice transcendental meditation 20 minutes twice a day. I leave that with you. That is what I want you to take away from this course.
Okay, Dr. Brennan, thank you very much for that. So Dr. Brennan there dealt with that most fundamental level of life, which is consciousness, and TM being one of the techniques that allows us to go back and experience that and enliven that. And obviously being in tune with your nature or being awake to your nature is an incredibly important thing. So now Dr. Naheed is going to talk. Actually, I think Dr. Naheed is just muted there. I'll have to unmute her. And Dr. Naheed, hi, Dr. Naheed.
Naheed is still muted.
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Naheed, how are you? So I think you're going to cover, you feel a very important thing with Ayurveda is digestion.
Yes. So Ayurveda, there is a saying in Ayurveda that it's not what we eat, it's what we digest. So Ayurveda puts a great emphasis on digestion and our diet as well, because ultimately at the end product of digestion is Oja, which you are going to learn from this course. So what I'll emphasis on, what you can take from this course is that how important our digestion is. So Ayurveda not only has described about the diet, like what should be the diet, but also how a person should eat. Like I just give you a few examples and then you'll get to know in detail about the digestion in the lesson 6 from all of us. So there are a few examples, like if you have to put at least a 3 hours gap between your meal so that your previous meal gets digested properly and you don't produce any metabolic toxin out of that. You use that food, what you have it, and you make good tissues and good ojas out of that. So why digestion is so important in Ayurveda? Because digestion, if we say that that's a process in which whatever we eat, it goes under process and our body utilizes that. from the Ayurvedic point of view, when we eat something, we form rasa, the first body tissue. So the more healthy is the rasa, subsequently all the other tissues will form from rasa. So rakta, mangsha, meda, majja and shukra all will form from that rasa, which is the finest nutrient products out of our digestion. And then we form the ojas, which is our stabilizing force, which is our immunity, which actually just keep us healthy enough and able us to fight with any disease and withstand any circumstances in any crunch situation. And also, I would like you to emphasize that you will get to know about how a Vata and a Pitta and a Kapha person digest their food. How is their digestive capacity? So a Vata person mostly have like irregular kind of digestion. The Pitta have a very sharp kind of digestion. Kapha have very slow, very sluggish kind of digestion. So what should be your food preferences if you are a Vata? What should be your food preferences if you are a Pitta? And what should be your food preferences if you are a Kapha? What should be the after process when you have your food? Like you need to just sit down, you need to go out for a walk. So why this walk is important? Why it's related to diet? It's because our gut is very well connected to our mind. So when you go for a walk, when you go out, you are relaxing your mind. You are giving a good environment to your entire system to digest your food properly. So all I say that just focus on each lesson, like how a Vata, Pitta and Kapha body behaves and how their digestion behaves and how should they plan their food accordingly. And you might be facing troubles like you are a Vata, your husband is Pitta and maybe your Kapha child is Kapha. So you don't know how to cook your food properly, like how you manage around like something you are digesting properly and your other family member are not able to do that properly. So you'll get to know in this course how you can plan your diet, how you can do can go very easily around with cooking your food and enjoying your food. So be with us, enjoy the course, and I'll hand over to you, Noel.
Okay, Dr. Naheed, so thanks very much for that. Yes, so diet and digestion are incredibly important in Ayurveda because obviously, like you're rebuilding your body all the time. It's amazing to think that the physical structure that you have, that you're watching this video with now, within 3 years, nearly 100% of that will have been replaced. But in 1 year, 99% of the physical you sitting in the chair there won't be you anymore. It'll have, all the atoms, all the cells will have regenerated themselves. You're creating something like 300 billion new cells every day. That's more stars than there are in the Milky Way. And yet this is happening without your conscious control. It's just all happening in the background. But obviously you need ingredients to make those new cells. And the ingredients is what you breathe and what you eat. So what you take into your body is very, very important. And not only what you take into your body, but the power of your digestion to be able to make the best use of what you're taking in. So even if you are eating good in-season food, but your digestion has been disturbed and is weak, then you're not digesting it properly. It's like taking coal and putting it on a big load of coal and putting it on a fire that's not lit. All it does is put the fire out as opposed to generating more heat. So getting your digestion correct is very, very important in Ayurveda. Having a good fire within the gut so that when you do put food in there, that it gets broken down correctly. And Dr. Naheed mentioned one of the first tissues that comes from the digestion of food, which is rasa. And we're going to be discussing all of those different, how one tissue turns into another tissue and how it's very important to have strong digestion the whole way along. So we're going to cover that a lot. As Dr. Naheed said, a Kapha person will have a different power of digestion than a Vata person, who will have a different power of digestion than a Pitta person. So you'll discover your nature as we go on with this course, and we'll have lots and lots of tips for people about how to strengthen their digestion if your digestion is weak, and also great tips about the types of foods that you should be eating, both from a seasonal and a daily point of view as well. So thanks very much for that, Dr. Naheed. So we now go to Dr. Rajvinder. I'm sure many of you know Dr. Rajvinder as well. She's been working in the Ayurveda Centre since about 2007. She's a very well accomplished Ayurvedic doctor. She's treated thousands of people as well and consulted with thousands of people. And I think, Dr. Rajvinder, your favorite area in this course is going to be around the lifestyle that people should get involved in and the things that they should do. So maybe you should say a few words about that.
Yes, no, thank you. Well, Ayurveda is, we're going to talk that in detail, is made up of two words, which is Ayu and Veda. So Ayurveda is all the knowledge about your life. So it's a way of living. So it's a path that you walk on. And Ayurveda encourage people to find the balance in their mind, body, and spirit, because they all are connected to each other. As you have heard Dr. Brennan and Dr. Naheed talking about how important the meditation is, how important the food is. So the third aspect of your health is the lifestyle. So Ayurveda has a big wealth of knowledge on the lifestyle. How should we live? So that's how we're going to find ourselves, who we are first, knowing your body type, because your Prakriti your body type respond to any of the change in your diet, any of the change in your environment, any of the change in your habits. And that's how your Vata, Pitta, Kapha is affected with the slight change in the weather, even you feel it yourself. So the way of living, the lifestyle we call in Ayurveda, is very important. So we're going to discuss in our coming courses about the change, how the time change in the day. And there's a 4-hour window for each of the dosha. There's a 4 hour for Vata in the morning, early morning, 4 hours for Kapha, 4 hours for Pitta, and then back to Vata, like that. So understanding that principle, and I would encourage everybody to make one effort. So the word effort, yes, it is a daily effort in the habit that Ayurveda encourages us to make one change, one new things in our daily routine to achieve the right, the perfect balance. So in the morning, for example, if we say 6 to 10 is the Kapha time. So getting up early is one effort in the day. So getting up in the Kapha time of the day and go for a little walk or do your daily Abhyanga to kind of stimulate your body to have a better day, in energetic day, and living a full day of full potential, living a day of your full potential. So just getting up early in the morning. And then the second window, which is 10 to 2, is the Pitta time of the day, which Ayurveda emphasizes eating your main meal in the middle of the day. And you will be surprised. It is hard in the beginning because we all are so used to work hard during the day and sit down in the evening and have a big meal. But by changing that, your energy levels are better, your blood glucose are better, and your sleep is better when you eat in the middle of the day. And then in the evening, you take it easy, do your kind of more evening TM, and have a light evening meal and go to bed on time. So that's how Ayurveda have divided your day into these 4 hours of window, and there is always a choice to do this particular thing in that hour. So that's what lifestyle is. There's a huge amount of wisdom there, and you can do a lot more. I'm just touching just one little point here. So when you go to Ayurveda physician, they look at you and they tell you about your body type, and they tailor this personal, unique lifestyle for you. And by following this, don't get overwhelmed with so much knowledge, so many different tips. Just do one at a time, and it bring a big change into your body, into your balance, and into your day. So I will say, this little effort in your habits on the daily basis, the guidance is this ancient wisdom. We are not guiding you. The guidance comes from the wisdom, which is very ancient, more than 5,000 BC, as you have heard a lot, and still working. You live a life that is full of health, full of happiness, and you reach your full potential in your life. So this is what Ayurveda lifestyle is about. You tune in with yourself, you get to know yourself, and slowly, you don't need a physician to tell you, do this, do that. You get connected to yourself better. And there's a whole lot of research on this circadian rhythm, on the lifestyle, and I think that is the most upcoming lifestyle medicine will be practiced a lot in the coming years. So here you're getting all the wisdom through this wonderful series of lectures, through our wonderful doctors and our wonderful Noel, who is guiding all of us. So thank you.
Okay, Dr. Rajvinder, thank you very much. And I think you said something really important there as well, is that people, we've had habits for years, people are different ages and all that, and we've been doing things for a long time. We can't change, and we shouldn't want to change. all our habits straight away. It wouldn't make sense. It would be too much on the nervous system. So we change a little thing. If you're used to going to bed at 1 o'clock every day at nighttime, then obviously sleep is so important in Ayurveda, and we know now that sleep is incredibly important. And 1 o'clock is too late at nighttime to be going to bed. You've missed a lot of the healing that can go on during the Pitta time in the evening. But you can't suddenly start going to bed at 9:30 if you've been going to bed at 1 o'clock every day. So you bring it back. You bring it back a half an hour. You bring it back an hour. And the same, with your food. You can't suddenly just give up everything that you've been doing. So it's baby steps. It's little steps. But the great thing is when you do make a change, then you begin to feel better, then that encourages you to do more change. If you try to take it all on in one go, you suddenly realize, oh no, I'm too uncomfortable with this. I can't do this. And then you just stop and you give up and you just go back to your old ways. So it's baby steps. It's little changes. And we have a whole lecture devoted to the cycles within the day, and a healthy daily morning routine with cleaning your mouth and cleaning your tongue. And we'll show you how to do the oil massage and put oil in your nose to help kill viruses that get in there and keep this respiratory area very, very clean. We go through the middle of the day and the importance of your main meal, and then what to do in the afternoon, and then what to do in the evening. So all of these things we will cover in the course as we go on. So that's what we wanted to do today, basically, was give you an introduction to our 3 doctors that are going to guide the lectures. They've outlined 3 main areas that they feel are very important. Dr. Brennan, in relation to enlivening that consciousness through a meditation technique. The one he prefers is Transcendental Meditation. It's my own personal technique as well, but there are other techniques as well. So we enliven that consciousness through that stillness, through experiencing that stillness, which silence is, we've known from all cultures that to experience stillness is very, very beneficial to people. And then Dr. Naheed talked about the importance of a strong digestion. And we're going to go over that, and we're going to show the things that can knock your digestion out of balance and how important it is to have that strong digestion. And then finally, Dr. Rajvinder talked about, all the lifestyle things that we're going to be talking about throughout this course. So what I want to do now, if you don't mind, is I just want to share our website with you, because there are lots of resources on this website that are going to be very important during this course. So okay, so this is our website here, ayurveda.ie, okay? And I just want to bring your attention to, when you go there, the spelling of Ayurveda, for new people, it's ayurveda.ie. So there's the spelling up there, okay? If you go to this menu option, Ayurveda, there's some great information here for new people, okay? So there is an article about Vata, an article about Pitta, and an article about Kapha. So you can read up about these 3 doshas. There's an introduction which tells you the importance of the doshas, and then there's an actual body type test that you can do yourself. So you can get an idea, or begin to get an idea. I wouldn't say it's 100% perfect and it changes as people go on, but you can begin to get an idea of what your dosha is, So you can do that body type test, and so you get some idea of where we're going with this. And so all of those things between now and the next class, which will be on Thursday, maybe if you get a chance, you can go take a look at that. The other thing I want to bring you to is our YouTube channel, because this is where we're going to be putting up the repeats of the courses if you missed them. And we have a wealth of knowledge up on this YouTube channel. There are lots of videos on different topics, so you can scan down through this. I will be referring throughout the course to different videos that we will want you to watch. Like there are cookery course videos here. There are videos about the change of season. There's one, how to make an immunity boosting tea with Dr. Rajvinder. Another one, how to make ginger juice. There's some there about cooking. And then later on down, Dr. Brennan has lots of small videos about different topics that may be afflicting people. So this is a huge resource for knowledge. And as I say, this is where we're going to put up our Ayurveda courses. But you get to that very easily just from our website, just down here, visit our YouTube channel. So that's what I wanted to show you there. This Ayurveda menu, where you can start getting a lot of information about Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and then also the link to our YouTube channel. So that's it. That's what we wanted to cover today. So what we're going to do now, and what we always do in these courses, is we have a Q&A. And what we'll do
Okay, everybody. So that's great. So you can put your cameras back on if you want to do that. So I'll just unmute the doctors here. So Dr. Naheed, just say something there.
I know.
Oh, I muted you again. Sorry. Dr. Brennan, Dr. Rajinder, Dr. Naheed, are you muted or unmuted? Oh, you're muted. Okay. Hang on a second.
Hello.
Hi, Dr. Rajinder. Hi,
Hi.
Dr. Naheed. Say something there.
Hi.
Okay, you're there.
Hi.
So just Dr. Brennan must be just away from the thing. Okay, everybody. So that was our introduction to Ayurveda and an introduction to the three doctors as well. Sorry.
30 minutes.
I am
No, sorry,
here.
sorry, not saying to know.
I'm
Okay,
here.
Dr. Rajinder, will I mute you?
No, no, it's okay.
Okay. So
What the hell?
so is Noor there with you? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we covered the three main areas, and our next lesson is going to be about Vata. But some of you may have some questions that you might want to ask while the doctors is here. It'd be very interesting if you ask, if you have questions about the topics that we covered, or if there's any little questions you want to ask about Ayurveda. But feel free to ask any questions that you want, and we can possibly. Dr. Brennan normally looks at some of the questions that came in already. So Don, if you
The first question was from Maura. Could she record this? No need, Maura, because Noel records and puts it up, sends you a link to the Zoom, to the YouTube record of this. So you'll get that tomorrow. Veena, is diabetes the result of an imbalance in your Vata? It could be, Veena. There are two types of diabetes. One is the what used to be called the juvenile, which happened even to children. And that one certainly has more Vata. When the much more common type is the one that comes in time, and the onset of diabetes, which used to happen later in life, but is happening increasingly now at a young age, and is affected by diet and lifestyle, and that's due to Kapha. So it depends on the type of diabetes we're talking about. Sophie. Sophie's is interesting. She asks a question about being bloated a lot. She wonders what's it from, and then she makes the comment, she's like fat as she feels better, and that gives her the answer really, because bloating is a Vata complaint generally. It's air and space is Vata, as we'll discover in the next talk, and the Vata's influence on digestion can cause all sorts of difficulties like bloating, distension, wind, cramps, discomfort. A lot of IBS symptoms are often down to Vata and disturbed digestion. So we'll be talking about Vata in the next, and then we'll talk about digestion towards in the last lectures. So you should pick up tips to take care of yourself and ease your bloating, Sophie. Mary, Anna asks, is there a place for Ayurveda autoimmune disease? Very definitely, very, very definitely. Ayurveda is orientated around digestion as a fundamental an aspect of all diseases, and it's fascinating to see how medicine is starting to recognize that now in terms of a microbiome, the bacteria in your gut, which have a huge influence in your immune system, and autoimmune diseases, of course, are a disturbance of our immune system. So there's a lot of benefit to be had from Ayurveda for those type of complaints.
Is Raja's yoga same as TM? Dr. Brennan, do you want to explain that?
It's a very interesting question. And definitely there was a book written by a sage who visited all the great teachers of his time, and including one called Gurudev, Brahmananda Saraswati. Brahmananda Saraswati, then, he was the only teacher whom this author said was the expert in Raja Yoga. That man, Ramananda Saraswati, was prevailed upon to sit in a seat of learning which had been vacant for 140 years because nobody could be found who was of caliber to represent the knowledge of the tradition. And this became Gurudev Maharishi's teacher. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi then spread TM around the world, and then he was instrumental in spreading Ayurveda around the world after that. So it certainly comes from a Raja Yoga tradition, and the ultimate yoga. Yoga means the settled mind. That's what the ancient texts describe it as. You can see it in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. And I think it's the second sutra. It says the yoga is a settled mind. And that's actually what TM does. It just effortlessly, without any trying on your part, without any strain, allows your mind to do what your mind would love to do, which is have a rest. So your mind just gently settles as you do the technique. And as you have a habit of doing it, your mind starts to remain more settled through the day, which means you're not excitable, you don't get as excited, so it protects you from stress. And that is the ultimate royal or Raja yoga.
Great, nice. I need to, yeah, go ahead.
Right, go ahead.
Okay, it's okay.
Any advice for perimenopausal symptoms, please? Perimenopausal is a phase where you are going from a Pitta phase of your life to a Vata phase of your life. So you need to focus on balancing your Pitta if you're having a lot of hot flushes or like you're missing your periods. So you can add Shatavari and MA22 herbs in your daily routine so that your hormones remain balanced. Shatavari really helps to keep your hormones in balance. And you can focus on balancing your Pitta, which we are going to discuss in lesson 3. And you should start preparing yourself for the Vata phase of your life, which we are going to discuss in the next lesson. So stay tuned, you'll get to know more.
Somebody's asking, Sharia, what is the reason for growth on thyroid and womb? So any growth in the body is related to Kapha imbalance, because Kapha is mucus and damp, and it is the glue in the body that sticks everything together. So too much of Kapha lead to polyps, cyst, or any kind of growth. So I think you need to look into Kapha imbalance, the balancing Kapha in the body. So just eat less bread. If you're eating too much of bread and sugar, maybe cut on that.
And Elaine is interested in treatment with Crohn's disease and asthma and general inflammation. I think, Elaine, look out for the lesson after next, because Crohn's is inflammation, definitely. It's a hot condition. So it certainly is one that responds quite well to a Pitta perspective, the lifestyle and dietary advices that soothe Pitta. And that probably is the primary one because it comes first in your question. So I would start there. Asthma, I would sort out second. So anyway, watch out for Pitta is the tip for the moment. And then maybe more questions will come after that lecture.
Do consider a consultation. Like, it's hard to treat. We are just giving you general information. You can manage Crohn's very well if you're on medication with the help of Ayurveda, especially with the diet and certain lifestyle tips. And there are lovely herbs as well to help to manage it better if it's flare or depends on what's going on. And the same for Hannah as well, stage 4 endometriosis, and she's feeling very tired and bad reflux. So I would say there are certain herbs that could help, and even with the reflux for sure. And with the endometriosis, it's the Kapha. Again, cut down on the Kapha foods and start to eat a bit light, maybe khichdi or kind of light meal for a few days and see if that helps you.
Yeah, as I said in the introductory video there, all diseases are associated with imbalances in Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and the majority of them actually with Vata disorders, you know. And in Ayurveda, it's the opposite balances. So like if something is heating, let's say, you know, some Pitta condition caused by excess inflammation and excess heat, then we do the opposite thing to try bring that back into balance. So we use cooling foods, we use cooling herbs, things like going swimming is very, very good for Pitta things. So it's all to do with your diet, your lifestyle, herbal preparations. It's the whole thing encompassed, because as I said, everything is made of earth, air, fire, water, and space. So everything is either bringing balance or imbalance. So it's a matter of knowing that and then choosing the right things to help bring you back into balance. And it's only generally through years of doing the wrong thing that we develop these imbalances. So as I say, we do the opposite to help us bring ourselves back, you know.
And Gur says, yes, it's type 1 diabetes he has. And is there Ayurvedic nourishment? Well, Gur, you know, when you're thinking about type 1 diabetes, it's a matter of requiring a certain nourishment, which is easy to digest. And there are simple things that you can do, like soak barley in a triplet decoction overnight and drink the barley water. And there are, again, appropriate diets and appropriate use of oils and of Ayurvedic herbals. But, you know, it's not one for which there's a home, what would you say, home remedy. It's a little bit more complicated. But yeah, I mean, definitely, there's so many factors that can disturb the blood sugar. For example, stress or strain or inadequate rest. And so it's important to deal with factors in lifestyle, as well as dietary factors, as well as digestive improvements, as well as specific treatments orientated towards the diabetes. The interesting thing is medicine puts a name on a disease, it labels it, and then there's a protocol. But if you say someone has arthritis, well, in Ayurveda, there can be a Vata type of arthritis, a Pitta type of arthritis, a Kapha type of arthritis. You may have complete different people through completely different causative factors in their lifestyle or their diet came to suffer arthritis. And so what Ayurveda is doing is looking at the nature of the person, looking at all their lifestyle, looking at what caused their imbalance in their particular lifestyle that ultimately resulted in arthritis, rather than saying, well, we'll use anti-inflammatory drugs because it's arthritis. So you're helping the patient heal with Ayurveda. You're not just treating a disease.
That's what you do for osteoporosis as well, isn't it, Dr. Brennan? Somebody asking. So you're treating Vata imbalance of the whole patient.
Absolutely. I mean, Vata, the bones are a Vata tissue, and osteoporosis and even arthritis tends to occur more and more going into the time of life, which is more Vata, which you discover about next lecture. And so it's a matter of living a life appropriate to that time and living a life appropriate to balancing Vata, which includes, of course, the foods you eat, the lifestyle you live, the recreations you enjoy, and just having that handle, just having that awareness is what underlies the bone problem. Then that is actually giving you huge possibilities for your own healing.
I think, Dr. Brennan, you once said to me that Ayurveda actually doesn't treat disease; it treats the person. The disease is only, it's only indicative of an underlying imbalance that's there. So it's treating the person. It's looking at the person's lifestyle. It's looking at their diet. It's looking at their nature. It's helping them to live in tune with nature. And then when you can do that, and bring the person back into balance, whatever symptoms are there begin to dissipate or can begin to dissipate. So it's a very interesting perspective on it. And Deirdre Bregan has an interesting question. She says, if someone has a long time habit of going to bed between 2 and 4 and getting up between 10 and 12, will that cause lasting harm? Yeah, it's not a great idea, according to Ayurveda, to do that. You know, there's so much healing goes on when you go to bed early. But lasting harm is... Nature can be very, very forgiving, and it can operate very quickly when you start doing the right things, you know. I'm not sure about lasting harm. Certainly harm, all right, but when you say lasting harm, you're saying, well, can it be reversed? Dr. Brennan, what would be your opinion on that?
Lasting harm about which, Noel?
And going to bed between 2 and 4 and getting up between 10 and 12.
But the body has an amazing capacity to adjust. And so it's called okasatmya. And by virtue of that, having adjusted, the body doesn't suffer as significantly as you might anticipate. But the problem is that that's going to provoke Vata, and you may get away with it when you're younger, but in reality, eventually, the wear and tear effect of that is going to impact. And at some point in your life, unfortunately, you will actually learn that it's far better to go to bed earlier and get up earlier, because your body is going to have to feed you back that information through discomfort.
but that's actually the reality. You get away with it when young, but in time, the probability is it may catch up. So why continue with something you know to be wrong?
What causes headaches? So there are many causes for headaches, and some of the common causes can be either migraine, or it can be stress. It can be because of hypertension, high blood pressure, or it can be just if your eyes are not like a lot of pressure build up in your eyes, or if you're working like long hours in front of screen. So it depends like what's the reason behind your headache. Any pain is related to vata, so maybe you can have a herbal tea of ginger and some warming spices like cinnamon that can relieve your headache. But I think you need to have a consultation to discuss in detail that what is causing the headache if it's chronic condition.
I feel for Hennigan. Hennigan has stage 4 endometriosis. And lately she's been feeling very tired and she has a very bad reflux. And she's been feeling a bit down, understandably, and quite moody. And yes, Hennigan, what the story here is that as we go through talking about Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, we'll discover that Kapha is more in the upper body, Pitta is more in the midriff. We keep our fire in our gut, in our stomach, pancreas, liver. And that's the Pitta part of the body. And the Vata part of the body is downstairs in the pelvis and in the lower limbs. And Vata should move down in that area because we eliminate from there waterworks, bowel movements, and so forth. But when Vata gets excited, from there it can start pushing up. And instead of the lining of the womb being eliminated downwardly with the period, the lining of the womb also starts to get pushed up, causing the endometriosis. And that increasing tendency, which is happening in your body, is now reached the stage where it's disruptive of the whole digestive mechanisms, leaving you without energy and pushing the fire, Pitta, from your midriff up to give you bad reflux. And all of this is disrupting your well-being. And so basically, you're going to have to learn to balance Vata, and you're going to have to learn to take care and strengthen your digestion. And this course will help you a lot in that regard, at least to understand what you need to do. But yes, again, what I would be saying is there's great hope that you can make big difference.
Sushmita has some brittle lines on her nails and she's wondering, we have a very lovely remedy. It's called Healthy Hair and Nail and it has quite good result. If you want to try that, Sushmita. So it's MA953, that's the number. And yeah, I think headache is answered.
Where's the heat?
I'm here. I was thinking about endometriosis. So endometriosis is a Vata condition. And in some texts, it has mentioned that if a lady is on her period, and if she does activity like excessive exercise or very tiring day, then that can increase more Vata. And one more condition, like if someone has a copulation, like sex during the first day or the second day of their period, so that can also lead to aggravation of Vata that much that there is a tendency to develop endometriosis. So when you are in your periods, just calm, relax, don't do a lot of work when you are having your period. You can postpone that for 2 to 3 days, or maybe you can do when you know that you're going to have your period, you can pre-plan your work to reduce the load during your periods.
Well, can I just make the comment there? If anybody thought Ayurveda was a little abstract, after that wonderful advice from the heat, you'll see just how practical it can be.
Jacqueline said she was in an Ayurvedic clinic in India. She came back, no migraine, and she would like to get back. Of course, Jackie, maybe you came back and your diet and lifestyle got off track a bit. So see if you can remember what your Vaidya told from India, try to implement, and you're going to learn a lot from this course. So hopefully we will be able to motivate you to bring you back on the track, especially your diet, because migraine could be a Pitta Vata condition. You might be doing too much, especially these days, spending too much time on the screen. So go outdoor, eat on time, go to bed on time. So try to go back on the simple things.
And we are also doing that detoxification plan as well, like you and Dr. Brennan are doing that. Maybe she can
Oh,
try.
it's fully booked out now. So maybe keep an eye on the next time. It's only starting Thursday. So.
And Sean asks, is TM useful for students with low mood and stress? I started TM as a student, and I'm telling you, it totally transformed. Very gradually, I hardly noticed it happening, but the first indication I had was walking down a corridor before learning TM. I thought, my thoughts are coming so rapidly, I can't keep up with them. And a month later, walking down the same corridor and noticing, my God, my thoughts are coming so slowly. It's so easy to be at ease with them. So my personal experience confirms the reality that TM, and the research is about 4 times better than other meditations for trait anxiety and the tendency to be anxious and tense and worried. So yes, it'd be excellent for students, not just as for their anxiety, but to enhance their capacity to learn, because it's mental technique. A more relaxed brain will take in more. I love Brian O'Donoghue's contributions. In relation to lifestyle, I think it's important to note that solar noon on the east coast of Ireland for this week is at 13:22. I wonder where he gets this wonderful information. So it's lovely. So maybe we shouldn't eat too early. What would the doctors think? He's so right, of course, because it's the sun that we're associated with. And the sun in the middle of the day, what he's saying is at its highest at 13:22. So our digestion is going to be strongest at that time. So eating at 1 o'clock this week is perfect. That's when the main meal should be this week, around 1 to half 1.
There's a question about Vata Pitta out of balance, I have been told. So our next lesson is on Vata, and after that, a lesson is on Pitta. So you'll get to know how your Vata and Pitta goes out of balance, so that you don't do all these things to bring back your Vata and Pitta in balance. And also, we are going to discuss the practical aspect, how you can balance your imbalanced Vata and Pitta. So concentrate on both the 2 lessons which are going to come, and you'll get to know.
Kelly's asking about coffee. How bad is the coffee? So what Ayurveda say. Well, coffee in general is a very good antioxidant, but if it's taken in moderation and is taken with more responsibility. So for Kapha people, because of the bitter and astringent, coffee is a great in that sense to reduce Kapha. But 1 cup, and Pitta, it could be too heating and too acidic, and for Vata, it could be very stimulant as a caffeine. So if you take it small amount and take it sensibly, yeah, small amount of coffee, that's what Ayurveda say. But people would take more than 2 cups, probably too much. 1 or half cup enough for Vata, 1 cup for Pitta, maybe. Yeah, so same for Kapha.
Wonderful.
I'm saying Dr. Brennan is Google. Google gone Google.
Pardon?
Someone is calling you Google.
Who?
He has a lot of knowledge. That's what they mean.
Oh, I have less knowledge than Dr. Ijwinder and Dr. Nahid.
No, you have your own wisdom, which is very unique as well.
Well, the wonderful thing about Ayurveda is everybody who takes to it expresses it through their own life experience and through their own nature. So it's quite unique, each practitioner's perspective, but all deal with the same you, and so all can help you. Jay is asking advice for a teenager for irregular periods. Again, you'll learn in the next lesson that Vata is irregular, and the irregular period is an irregular movement. And so her Vata is out of balance, basically. Is she getting enough rest? Has she got a reasonable routine? Is she eating foods that are too light and dry? Is she skipping meals? Balance her Vata as a start. Then we could talk about herbals. And would acne, Jenny asks, be a Kapha imbalance? I think you're on the ball there. There's certainly a Kapha influence. There may also be a Pitta involvement in that because inflammation is there as well as the moistness.
and it generally is happening in a late Kapha, early Pitta time of life, late teens, beginning 20s. So yeah.
Google was the sun information. You were asking where you got the information.
Oh,
I translated it differently, but good.
okay.
Yeah. So underactive thyroid is sluggish metabolism, and try to guess what dosha could be. So the kapha is the heavy one, so that could be too much of the kapha in the system. But that doesn't mean Vata or Pitta can't have underactive thyroid. They could as well. Depends what's going on in the diet, lifestyle, stress, all those things.
And I just noticed Mary Jane Newman in the chats. Thanks again, Mary. Mary is trained in Maharishi Ayurveda and is helping us out by answering questions in the chat line. So always lovely to see Mary Jane Newman's contribution. What's the best treatment to treat ulcerative colitis? Now, we talked about Crohn's, similarly ulcerative colitis, inflammatory conditions. It's lovely to see you're on the Ayurvedic herbals, and I'm sure they're being helpful, but it's also good for you to listen to the next lesson, Cam, and know everything about balancing Pitta so that you have a lifestyle and dietary perspective to bring as well as the herbs. Akka Raunier, I'd like to know about osteoporosis. There's a lot to know about osteoporosis, Vata condition, and you want to take care of your digestion so that you absorb nourishment sufficiently to nourish your bones. There are certain foods that are very strengthening to the bones. There's herbals that can be used. So, but you can start by listening to how you balance your Vata in the next lecture.
I think we give a chance to our new student, Noel, to answer a question.
No, I saw a lovely comment there from somebody who said they learned TM I lost it there, as a student suffering from a lot of anxiety, extreme sadness, I think they said, and it did a lot of benefit for them, you know. So that's good, because Dr. Brennan mentioned that as well, you know. So that's a nice comment. I just lost it though. There's so many comments coming in, you know.
Talk about fibromyalgia, maybe, from your learning.
Fibromyalgia, well, I mean, from my limited learning, I would say it's very much a Vata imbalance, you know, and to do with a lot to do with stress and lifestyle. My experience of it, I've taught a lot of people, a lot of ladies, TM that have had fibromyalgia, and it has been very beneficial for them, you know. But it's a Vata condition from my knowledge of it anyway, and all of the things that can help to balance Vata, which are regular routine, nice warm nourishing foods, early to bed at nighttime, having some stress management. And then one of the main things, I'm not saying particularly for fibromyalgia, but one of the main things for putting people's Vata out of balance, especially for ladies, is too intensive exercise. And there's a lot of, you know, pressure being put on people nowadays, the idea that, you know, to be healthy you have to be doing really intense exercise, and in actual fact really intense exercise for Vata people is not a good idea. Absolutely not a good idea. And I'm sorry to say it, but particularly for ladies, and they will develop period problems, irregular periods, painful periods, and they'll even go amenorrheal, which is quite common among female athletes. They lose the ability to have a period completely, you know, and that can cause major issues further up the road, you know. So, but fibromyalgia, Dr. Richvinder, I think a Vata condition, and you need to be looking at all of the Vata things in your life and developing a good routine and nourishing food. So, am I right or am I wrong?
Yes, good advice. You passed.
Very good. I'm doing an Ayurveda course at the moment, a postgraduate degree in Ayurveda from a university in Slovenia. So that's why they're questioning me here on different things. Any Ayurvedic treatments for leukemia? I'll leave that to somebody else. Don?
I think, you know, it's a very good question. And what we have to do is we have to recognize there are limits as well. Ayurveda recognizes conditions that are treatable and conditions that are not treatable. But even the not treatable conditions can be divided into those that are absolutely hopeless, for which nothing can be done, and those for which they can be handled. Leukemia is something that you do go the medical route for. But my experience with people with maybe even advanced cancers is that they they do better if they also integrate some Ayurvedic perspective in their plans, because the doctor treats the disease, but how do you heal? So Ayurveda is more about how you can mobilize your own body's natural intelligence to support the healing process. And so they're very complementary. So whereas we're not going to say that Ayurveda is going to cure cancers, we're going to say that there's a combination may work very well, especially for some people. So worth looking into.
Yeah, it definitely helped with the treatment. I treated a person with leukemia, and with the help of Ayurveda diet, his quality of life got better and he responded very well to the treatment. So Ayurveda can go beside the treatment, as Dr. Brennan said, complementary well with it, but you have to go to the medical route as well.
There's an interesting one from Mary Kennelly. My daughter is a hairdresser and is allergic to a lot of the products. How can she balance her system? Whoa. Yeah, I mean, there are things that we can do for allergies, but she may have to consider what she's actually doing, depending on how allergic she is to these things and if they're actually making her very, very sick. But yeah, allergies can be dealt with. I mean, detoxification and things like that and using nasi oil and different oils can help strengthen her immune system, all right. But like, there's a lot of very harsh chemicals used in hairdressing, and yeah, I don't know, Dr. Brennan, any ideas? Or maybe Dr. Naheed, you're very familiar with any ideas on that?
I take this question. So any allergic condition is, as per Ayurveda, is because your digestive system and your digestive fire is not working properly. And why your digestive system is not working properly? Because of the exposure, the chemical exposure, pollutants, or you are not eating on a proper time in a proper way, which doesn't let to form ojas, and oja is a substance which provide immunity to the body. So you need to focus on eating properly and on time, and try to keep yourself away from chemicals, harsh chemicals, as much as possible. And also what Noel said, that pranayama, nasya, all these things helps to build immunity. And we have some lovely herbs like chavanprash, like maharishi products, so you can use that to build up your immunity as well.
Yeah, but Mary, she has to look at how severe it is and is it worth it, I mean, I don't know if this is a mild thing or a very severe thing, but there are nasty, nasty chemicals in a lot of products, and especially, hair dyes and things like that ladies put on their scalp and things like that, and all the different sprays. And if they're affecting her very badly, she may have to start thinking about what she's doing,
I think Noel's caution is wise, because, there are basically, you could say there are two types of allergies, and one is absolutely life-threatening. Like there's a question here about a girl 15 with fish allergies. If you get an acute allergic response, which starts to cause your tongue to swell and, you suddenly you can't breathe, that's a situation where absolute avoidance of the allergen is vital. And even people carry around steroid pens, little ways of injecting themselves for an immediate treatment if they are exposed to this life-threatening allergy. But if the allergy is not so severe, then we're looking at what Dr. Naheed says. And the digestion in Ayurveda is not just what happens in the stomach, but that actually is very important, because it is very important for stimulating the other processes of transformation, because the nutrients leave your gut, go to your liver. And there are lots of transformations that happen in the liver, which must happen properly, or else, if not properly handled, it means that things are going to the tissues which cause inflammation. And particularly, as Noel was saying, you don't put anything on your skin that you wouldn't put into your mouth. So if you're looking at cosmetics, deodorants, even soaps, if you see chemicals on them, then you haven't got a clue what's in it. There's likely petrochemicals, originally petrol, and you would put it in your mouth. So why put it on your skin when your skin is going to absorb? And then that attacks your liver. The liver gets disturbed, and then the disturbed liver starts to create skin allergies. So yes, when Dr. Naheed's talking about digestion, she's talking about your metabolism as well. And so but there are strategies then to start to reverse those types of allergies.
So that bring another question. Should we avoid putting on body lotions and sun creams?
And you're a good one to answer that. Correct.
Oh, yeah, use a good body lotions, like more natural. Nowadays, there are so many natural plant-based, very little chemicals in them. Or use oil massage. I think in the next lecture is going to come up oil massage. So that is a brilliant, and it has more benefit than the body lotion. And sun creams, yeah, sun creams are very much full of chemicals. So look for a good one. Look for less chemicals in it, and you only use when you go out, and when you come home, you just wash it off, or use a sun hat to protect your face and pull your full sleeves clothes in, so that is you're not directly exposed to the sun. Unfortunately, yeah, it's full of chemicals.
Yeah, actually, if you go and Google natural sun creams, you'll find a lot of them, and you can make your own ones using different creams and things like that. But the synthetic ones, the ones you're buying in the shops, just take a look at the ingredients on the back. Just look at it, and then think, well, I'm putting this on my skin, and this is being absorbed into my system. You won't want to do it if you just look at the ingredients. But there are natural ones that you can make up, and then the midday sun you avoid. You wear a hat, wear a t-shirt, and all that. But it is important to protect your skin. It's very important to protect your skin. But there are lots of things that are natural sun barriers, and use them. Don't be putting things on your skin that are not meant to go there, because as Dr. Brennan says, you're absorbing that into your system. I read a statistic recently about the amount of chemicals that the average lady, from makeup absorbs into their system. And these were things that the human body was never designed to ingest and doesn't really know what to do with them. Really, in some ways, they just become fat soluble toxins in the system, causing God knows what sort of problems, So why knowingly or unknowingly put yourself at risk? So just use some sort of a natural product. And as I say, just Google it and you'll find different natural ones,
I mean, the elephant in the room with regard to cancers is actually their increasing incidences since we started to pour chemicals into our environment and into our food, and now we're absorbing them through our skin. We're absorbing them as additive flavorings in food. There are pollutions in the air we're breathing in, and it's not surprising that such unnatural ingredients are challenging our immune systems, which can fail to eliminate the deteriorating cancer cells. So we have to learn to treat our physiologies with utmost respect and only nourish it with what is natural for it, I would suggest here. And there was another question about mild dilated cardiomyopathy. Definitely the heart is not merely a pump. The heart is the organ of feeling. So we have to operate on the level of feeling as well as on our mind, because somebody in a white coat says, you've got arthritis and it's going to get worse. Well, it doesn't motivate you to take control and clear the arthritis, does it? So your mindset is important as well as taking care of yourself physically. And there are tonics in Ayurveda for the heart and for muscle, and so I think there are suggestions which would help. Whether it can heal the cardiomyopathy, I don't know, but I do know it can certainly stall or even reverse some of the symptoms from my experience.
Again, inflammation, and you work on the digestion first, try to bring the inflammation down, and through that you can help manage some of the symptoms. Depends what symptoms, maybe palpitation or what else is going on.
Okay, I think we're coming very close to the end here of our first lesson, and it was a great lesson. We still have over 225 people on the call an hour and a half later. So I think we started off with 250. So that's a really good sign that so many people stayed on. Our next lesson is on Thursday night. I will send everybody the Zoom link on Thursday morning. If you haven't got that Zoom link by around 1 o'clock on Thursday, just drop me an email. but everybody that registered for the course gets the link. So it's, if you can't find it, just check your spam folder. If you're on Gmail, check your promotions folder or your social folder. But the chances are 99.99% of the time is that the email has gone to you. It's just a matter of locating it. But if you can't locate it by around 1 o'clock, drop me an email. It's better you don't leave it until roughly 7:30, because I'm coming on here and then I'm scrambling to get the Zoom link out to people. So check a little earlier on. I'll definitely send it Thursday morning. And as I say, if you can't find it, just drop me an email. We've recorded this, so we'll put this on our YouTube channel, and we'll send you the link tomorrow. I'll also send you a link where you can do the body type test and you can read up about Vata, because Vata is the topic of our next discussion, and Vata is air and space. So just think about the qualities of air and space. They're very light, they're very moving. And so we're going to discuss what a Vata person will look like, what type of things put your Vata out of balance, how you can put it back into balance, and very importantly, what will happen to you if your Vata goes very far out of balance. What are the symptoms? What are the diseases associated with that, you know? So listen, thanks a million, everybody. A great number of people turned up for this. It's great to see. A big thank you to our doctors for coming on and answering all your questions. I don't know if the doctors have any final comments before we leave.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, Dr. Nahid. It's very late for you.
You need it.
Past your Ayurvedic bedtime, so you go and get yourself some rest there. And Dr. Brennan, I'll see you tomorrow, and Dr. Rajvinder, I'll see you tomorrow as well. So namaste, everybody. A big thank you for coming along.
In Thursday night.
Sorry?
Yeah, see you all on Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday night. See you all again. So that's great, everybody. A big thank you to the new people. You're on a great adventure here. You can probably see from some of the chats that some of the people who have been using Ayurveda have had great results. So these things will happen for you as well, you know. So we look forward to seeing you again on Thursday night. So good night, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye to everybody. And we'll see you soon.